Good morning, and thank you for being here. I'm Jamie Story, president of the Grassroot Institute of Hawaii. This morning we are publicly releasing an important new report, Good News, Native Hawaiians Prosper, by our own Dr. Harry Messenheimer. The study, which is based on data from the United States Census Bureau, clearly illustrates that Native Hawaiians in Hawaii and throughout the United States exhibit similar earnings as non-natives of the same age and education levels. The report, which Dr. Messenheimer will cover in more detail, has a couple of points that I'd like to cover as well. First, because of cultural differences in the way Native Hawaiians are defined, the population of Native Hawaiians is much younger than the population as a whole. With more people and therefore fewer income earners, more young people and therefore fewer income earners, it is no surprise that the poverty statistics appear higher for Native Hawaiians. When controlling for these age differences, however, Native Hawaiians fare similarly to individuals from other ethnic groups. The same is true for the education and skill levels of Native Hawaiians, which Dr. Messenheimer will explain. A second point to make is that because of the one-drop rule, where to qualify as a Native Hawaiian, all one needs is one drop of Native Hawaiian blood, many people who identify themselves as Native Hawaiians are predominantly of non-Hawaiian ancestry. If the data were available, studies should take into account the percentage of Native Hawaiian background, not just whether a person identifies as Native Hawaiian or not. The Grassroot Institute of Hawaii is not happy with the status quo, but this report gives further support to our stance that benefits based on race are not only inconsistent with the idea of equal rights, but are not warranted based on the available data. Rather, we believe that Hawaiians of all ethnic backgrounds should have access to the economic liberty, property rights, and educational freedom they need to prosper. Now a little on the author of the new study, Dr. Harry Messenheimer. He received his MA from Virginia Tech in 1980 and his PhD from George Mason University in 1989. He has taught at the University of Richmond, Troy State University, and George Mason University, specializing in microeconomics, macroeconomics, econometrics, the economics of taxes, and production of public policy. From 1991 to 1993, he served as economic advisor to Commissioner William P. Albrecht at the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. Dr. Messenheimer is now Director of Research for the Grassroot Institute of Hawaii and has written extensively in areas of state policy such as education, taxes, and Medicaid. Thank you for being here, and please welcome Dr. Harry Messenheimer.
Thank you, Madam President, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As you heard Jamie say here, despite my aged appearance, I'm a fairly recently minted PhD, 1989. But I have been doing economics since then. And some of you have probably heard that Native Hawaiians have bad statistics. Poverty, income, and other things. I'm particularly interested in as an economist in the poverty and income statistics because those statistics on their face are misleading. Let's take a look first at the poverty statistics. We look at Native Hawaiians and all others. When we do so, we notice that Native Hawaiians have some 80% higher proportion of youngsters who do not earn income compared to all others. It's roughly 36 to 19%. Excuse me, 36 to 20%. So, when you don't have people earning income, they're not going to contribute to the overall income pie by which poverty calculations are computed by the government. Second of all, Native Hawaiians in Hawaii have something like 11% fewer prime income earners than do others. So think about all that. You take the income earners, which is a smaller proportion of Native Hawaiians. You take those who are being supported by the income earners, some 80% higher for Native Hawaiians, by simple arithmetic alone, you end up with higher poverty calculations. But what about income earning? How does that play into the whole thing? Well, when labor economists look at the determinants of labor income, they focus on skill levels. What kind of activity by humans make up skill levels? Well, generally we home in on two aspects, namely education and experience. The more education you have, that increases your skill, and that increases your income, everything else being equal. The more experience you have on the job, the more income you have. So those two aspects, skills and experience, lead to higher income the more of them that you have. Well, we notice from the 2006 Americans Community Survey by the Census Bureau that non-natives, all others, generally have a little bit higher rating on education, almost a year more on average. Similarly, because they're an older population, they generally have more experience. You put that together, and based on the earning power of the skills that economists identify, you see that you would predict something like 8 to 12% higher income for others over non-natives on average. What is the actual divergence from average for others versus non-natives? It's a little less than 8%. So natives are actually doing a little bit better than we would expect based on their skills. Now the study goes on to look at similarly situated individuals on the mainland and then to compare Native Hawaiians on the mainland to Native Hawaiians in Hawaii. Similar conclusions are drawn. On the mainland, Native Hawaiians actually have a little bit higher on the education measure than do others, but a little less experience. The bottom line on that is that others are expected to earn just a little bit more, maybe 0.5% at most, more than the natives. But that doesn't. But that does show up in the actual empirical data. It turns out that non-natives earn about 1% more than natives on the mainland, which is well within tolerance. But the Wahine are doing much better on the mainland than are others. Similarly, the study compares natives on the mainland to natives in Hawaii. And based on their skill levels, there is just no difference in income. Native Hawaiians do just as well as everybody else. There's nothing to worry about. All they have to do is take advantage of their opportunities, and when they do so, they do it just as well as anybody else. They're not downtrodden in any way that I can find with respect to these measures of poverty and income. Madam President.
Thank you so much, Dr. Messenheimer, for your work. I also want to introduce our President Emeritus and Special Advisor, Dick Rowland. And with that, thank you for being here. With that, I would like to open this up to any questions from those in attendance.